Welcome everyone. I'll declare the meeting open at this time. Just going to ask if there are any conflict of interest amongst the council members. No. Thank you. Looking for the adoption of published agenda for Monday, April the 7th, regular council meeting. Councillor Snively, Councillor Caxero. Councillor Caxero.
If I could, through your worship, if I could add myself under new business, I'd like to speak to an issue at our cemeteries.
Thank you, sir. Anything else? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Looking for the adoption of minutes for March 16th regular council meeting. Deputy Mayor Melange, supported by Councillor Caxero. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Our first publication presentation will be the Association of Municipal Managers, Clerks, and Treasurers of Ontario. And I'd ask Mr. Malott to come forward, please. I'll meet you in the center here. I don't know what number that one is, but that's quite a few certificates that our staff in our municipality received, you know, just in the past 4 months. So congratulations again to all of you. Our next presentation is, motion received. Okay, motion received. Councillor Snively, Councillor Caxero. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item B, Essex Region Conservation Authority, Richard Wyman, General Manager, Secretary Treasurer, to present the 2014 Annual Report and 2015 Draft Budget.
Welcome, Mr. Wyman.
Thank you. It's always interesting coming and speaking from this end of the table. Usually I'm up at that end of the table in this conference room. But if I could maybe speak for a moment, and then I'd like to show the video of our our annual report from last year. And then come back and comment on a few of the initiatives that we'll be proposing and undertaking this year in keeping with our budget. I wanted to start with a quote that I've recently read, and I've talked about it before. It's a quote from the Mowat Centre for Policy Innovation out of the University of Toronto, and they released a report a couple years ago called The Vital Commons, a Policy Agenda for the Great Lakes Century. And as you can expect from the title of that report, it focused on issues of Great Lakes and healthy ecosystems. And it put the Great Lakes in the context of what it defined as the next economy, which obviously is very important to the needs of our region. And there's one quote in particular that I'd like to read. And it says, "The talented people who will drive innovation and growth in the transition to the next economy want to live in healthy, sustainable, vibrant communities. Quality of life, social inclusiveness, and environmental sustainability are necessary to attract the people who drive prosperity." And that notion of place is something that we all value, certainly in Essex. We are all attached to this region in one way or another, and it has guided the work of the Conservation Authority for over 40 years now. Our watershed-based programs have provided an ongoing and consistent response to very real and serious problems and challenges that this region's face, such as land degradation, natural area coverage, habitat issues, flooding and erosion. These all have an impact on the quality of the place that we live in. Today we'll add new issues to that list, things like water quality, and we're all experiencing that. The broader issue of Great Lakes and of the challenges associated with the Great Lakes, climate change, adaptation, stormwater management. These demand integrated watershed management approaches in order to meet the needs of this region. But because these are new issues, we also have to look at new ways of learning. We have to work with new partners. We have to find new creative solutions with municipalities and with other stakeholders. Ultimately, our ability to do so will be measured by how healthy and sustainable our communities are in the future, how resilient our region is to changes that we're seeing in today's landscape, and how well we work together to respond. So with that introduction, I again want to thank you for the opportunity to present our 2014 annual report, and then I'll come back and speak about our planned activities, if we can show the video now. Is that something I do from this end?
One of the largest group of freshwater lakes on Earth and contain 20% of the world's fresh water. But in 2014, the great challenges facing our Great Lakes became more apparent than ever. Blue-green algae continued to impact drinking water sources, and Pelee Island instituted a 10-day drinking water ban for the 90% of residents who draw their water from wells. In the city of Toledo, a state of emergency was declared as officials warned residents not to use municipal water after tests showed readings of microcystin toxins above that which was considered safe. Both of these bans were attributed to algae in Lake Erie. With a changing climate and more extreme weather predicted, we must come together with increased urgency to address these and other environmental issues. Scientific experts are all saying the same thing. We're collectively on the right track, but we need to increase the scale and intensity of the programs that are currently being implemented. This year, the Essex Region Conservation Authority continued to work towards addressing these pressing needs. We worked with partner municipalities in the universities of Waterloo and McMaster on a new intensity duration frequency study to ensure that the region's design standards and municipal infrastructure are more resilient to anticipated weather patterns. We became one of the many partners in the innovative FloodNet network, a nationwide effort to enhance flooding forecasting. Currently, no such warning system is available in Canada. We created a Detroit River Canadian Shoreline Restoration Manual to provide consistent guidance and sustainable options to those who design shoreline protection along the river. We partnered with the City of Windsor to replace a portion of the corroded steel walls along Little River and completed repairs and upgrades to the Grand Marais Drain to ensure proper flood protection in these areas. IRCA continued to work with rural and agricultural landowners to implement best management practices in an effort to reduce phosphorus and blue-green algae. We implemented 20 of these projects and restored a total of 152 acres of land to prairie, wetland, or forest. A controlled tile drainage pilot project was implemented to research its ability to reduce agricultural runoff and phosphorus loss, which are major contributors to the formation of algal blooms. Preliminary results are encouraging. IRCA also initiated low-impact development projects to complement our rural programs. All of these projects will help reduce the amount of phosphorus entering Lake Erie. Research and monitoring are critical to ensure that we are taking the most effective approaches to creating a sustainable future for our region, province, and beyond. This year, IRCA established a benthic sampling program to investigate the presence of insects in our streams. This provides valuable information about the degree of habitat degradation and overall water quality. Connecting people and nature are important to creating a future of sustainability. If individuals are not connected to nature, they will not see the need to protect it, and this is one of the reasons that IRCA operates conservation areas. In 2014, we partnered with Parks Ontario and the Nature Conservancy of Canada to create Cedar Creek Provincial Park. The trails along the Chrysler Canada Greenway and at Maidstone and Copegarin Woods were upgraded and parking lots improved to reduce flooding. Significant improvements were made to visitor services at the John R. Park Homestead, where the parking lot was expanded and 3 new cedar shingle roofs were replaced. We also undertook a bank stabilization project along the Greenway at Waggle Creek to reduce sediment from entering this waterway. And we completed our first environmentally sustainable building, the Eco Washroom at Holiday Beach. IRCA co-hosted the SCAR, the first multi-sport adventure race in the region, and curated an exhibit to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the extinction of the passenger pigeon. Relating this to modern conservation efforts, we educated over 7,300 students about the importance of protecting our environment and preserving our heritage, and worked with over 2,100 volunteers to complete 38 stewardship events. This year, IRCA became the first conservation authority in Ontario to implement a smoke-free outdoor spaces policy to control cigarette butt litter in our natural areas and ensure our visitors are not exposed to the dangers of secondhand smoke while enjoying healthy and active living. These innovative projects, programs, and partnerships are just a sampling of the breadth of sustainability initiatives that IRCA undertook in 2014, but it is indisputable that more needs to be done, and at an accelerated rate. We need to increase our collective efforts and concentrate on the challenges of our Great Lakes, particularly in the midst of a changing climate and more frequent and extreme weather events. Together with partners, we have shown that programs targeting phosphorus reduction work. More trees must be planted. More acres of lost forest and wetlands need to be restored. Pavement and other non-porous surfaces must be reduced. We have to continue to support initiatives for farmers and other rural landowners to implement best management practices, improve outreach and education surrounding phosphorus use, and urge landowners to maintain and repair their septic systems. We must continue to work with the greenhouse industry to reduce loadings, complete integrated watershed plans, and further our scientific research and monitoring. Improving our watersheds is a shared responsibility, and a positive change can happen with support and commitment from everyone. We have significantly improved the health of our Great Lakes in the past through collaboration and innovation, and can do so again. It isn't too late.
Excuse me, the work that you see on that video and the work that we do and as reported in the report, it relies on a strong board. And this year, though we've had some changes in our board, we certainly look forward to working with Councillor Councillor Snively, sorry Larry, and Councillor Bjorkman as we move forward with our plans for 2015. The 2015 budget builds on and implements a way forward, which was our 5-year sustainability plan, which was launched in 2013. The plan outlined an approach to respond to accumulated issues and challenges and positions us to more effectively respond to that next generation of conservation challenges. To date, implementation of the plan has exceeded our expectations and anticipated benefits to the region, including, and you saw some of these in the video, capital improvements, including a new beach washroom at Holiday Beach Conservation Area, which will be opening this spring, parking lot and drainage improvements to the John R. Park, as well as the roof work and other works that you saw in the video. Maidstone Conservation Area, stream stabilization of Mill Creek, new netting on the Greenway. These were projects that were in great need of replacement and long past their useful lifespan. And on the note of John R. Park Homestead, I certainly want to thank this council for declaring March Maple Month. We really had a terrific month out at the homestead, and despite the challenges of the spring weather, we really had a lot of fun and had a great deal of people out at the homestead. We were able as well through that plan to reduce IRCA's accumulated deficit from 437,000. It was a historic deficit. That was in 2012. And by the end of 2014, we had reduced that to 265,000 and planned again, in keeping with the budget, to reduce that again to 190,000 by the end of this year. We also initiated new thinking initiatives, and as again was highlighted in the video, the need to think differently led us to the creation of what we call sort of our watershed research group within the authority that brings people from different departments together to take a look at implementing new research programs with OMAFRA, with Ministry of Environment, with the Toronto Region Conservation Authority, Ontario Climate Consortium, other conservation authorities and universities and many other partners, and we'll be continuing to build on that in 2015. But I think those examples show the creative approach that IRCA has taken to program delivery, and we've been able to do that without impacting on levy or municipal budgets. And this 2015 draft budget and work plan continues to implement those key directions of the sustainability plan and goes a lot further in some areas where, as an example, we'll be developing a comprehensive watershed planning and development policy manual, and the intention there is to integrate our existing regulatory and policy direction with associated best practices, ultimately to improve clarity. And we're working with neighboring conservation authorities to ensure that there's consistency throughout southwestern Ontario and how we as conservation authorities are implementing and integrating our policy direction. We'll be hosting workshops and creating tools to better aid municipal staff and enhance customer service and delivery of all of these programs as we go forward. And we've completed or will be completing a new database for our watershed management services and for our data retention to increase our capacity, increase ultimately to enhance our ability to respond to inquiries and to permit applications that we do have. And through the 2015 budget, we're also increasing some of the capacity in that program. So collectively, amongst those directions, we'll be streamlining ultimately our permit process and ultimately approvals. We'll be completing an integrated watershed management framework as a model for watershed planning in Essex region, and working with municipalities in developing natural heritage system strategies as part of official plan updates. We'll be completing more water and erosion control infrastructure projects, subject ultimately to WECI funding, which we should hear of soon. That'll include the final design improvements to the remaining sections of the Grand Mares Drain in Windsor and Bell River flood control maintenance works in the community of Bell River. Ultimately, that'll generate over $800,000 worth of erosion and water control infrastructure projects. There was reference in the video to the intensity duration frequency curve or the IDF project, and we'll be completing that. There are drafts in review right now, actually, and we'll be releasing that very soon to member municipalities that partnered with us, including Essex. We're also, as was alluded to, engaged now in, through that exercise, we've become engaged in a national FloodNet project, which was a $5 million NSERC-funded project that takes a look at environmental and socioeconomic effects of floods and flood-related infrastructure across Canada. And so Essex region is going to be considered in that overall approach. And we'll be coordinating the development of stormwater management guidelines, again, with all of our municipalities, including the local development industry and local consultants, ultimately with the goal of ensuring stormwater management is managed similarly across our region. We'll be completing management plans for Holiday Beach and some of our Cedar Creek and Kennard River properties, completing the replacement of the boardwalk at Copegarin Woods Conservation Area. We'll be continuing to seek opportunities to develop the Essex to Amherstburg Greenway, and we certainly applaud the past efforts of this town in advancing the development of that trail, and hopefully we'll be able to build on that in 2015. Ultimately, we'll also be looking to connect our Urca Greenways to the Herb Gray Parkway trails and trails in the town of LaSalle and Tecumseh in the city of Windsor, and extending the Greenway into Leamington in partnership with our own foundation, municipalities, the Trans-Canada Trail, and many other partners. We'll be restoring at least 125 acres of land, creating at least 4 new wetlands, many of which are already done, planting at least 140,000 trees, and collecting at least 2,000 pounds of seed for our local restoration programs. Implementing research and education and outreach activities in support of our continued efforts to reduce phosphorus loading in our streams, rivers, and lakes in both our urban and rural environments. Taking a look at water control structures as an example of it for tile drain management, rain gardens, such as the first one that we did at the Harrow Arena for urban stormwater management, urban low-impact development projects, and looking at farming practices that ultimately result in lower phosphorus runoff, and in each of those cases, working with many great partners in the community. Completing at least 15 water quality enhancement and beneficial management projects with rural landowners, including an innovative Big Creek Buffer initiative that we're doing with the Ministry of Natural Resources and a number of other partners. We've just recently heard that our updated assessment report for our source water plan has been approved by the ministry, and we're expecting within the next month or so the final approval of our updated Essex Region Source Water Protection Plan. And so in 2015, we'll be completing and initiating delivery of comprehensive risk management services, and we'll be looking at doing that on behalf of municipalities, and we'll be meeting with your administration very soon to talk about what the impacts of the source protection plan are and how we might be able to help out in that regard. Continuing to work with school boards to better service the nearly 8,500 students annually who experience our outdoor education programs. We'll also be looking to increase French language programming and enhancing our eco-schools programs. We're launching this year a Teen Ranger program to provide pre-workplace and leadership experience in outdoor and environment-related fields. And ultimately, all of this and many more will be looked at in the context of an update to our 2011 to 2016 strategic plan that we'll be launching or working on over the course of this year in consultation with municipalities, with stakeholders, partners, volunteers, and ultimately the broad community. A great chance to look ahead potentially over 5 or 10 years at where this region needs to go from an environmental perspective. Overall, IRCA has a demonstrated history of balancing projects and priorities with local investment, and we certainly understand the challenges that all of our municipalities and residents face. Over the past 5 years, based on Conservation Ontario statistics, IRCA is consistently in the top 10 of all 36 conservation authorities in terms of programs and related revenues that we bring into our region. At the same time, we are consistently in the bottom 10 of all 36 conservation authorities in terms of general levy as a percentage of total revenues. Ours is approximately a little under 30%, and the provincial average is about 40%. And so I think that clearly demonstrates the value that IRC is bringing to our region. In fact, most of the programs and projects that I just highlighted rely on new external funding that we're able to attract. I think our board recognizes this value that IRCA brings as well, and our 2015 budget totals about $6.4 million. It includes a levy contribution from member municipalities of $2.8 million, or $14.92 per household, which is an increase of 3 cents per household being proposed for this year. And that includes funding for our capital and operational reserves, in addition to supporting our core programs and initiatives. Given our daily reliance on our natural resources, it's critical that we build resilient local watersheds in order to ensure healthy people and a reliable, sustainable economy, and ultimately a place that people want to live in. So that concludes my presentation. I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that there may be.
Thanks, sir. Any questions of Mr. Wyma? Council members? Okay. No. Thank you very much, sir. Keep the water clean. Motion to receive, Councillor Caxero, Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carried.
Item 8, reports from administration. A, communications, report number 2015-001, advertising and graphic standards policies.
I'll move the 4 recommendations.
Moved by Councillor Caxero, supported by Councillor Snively. Any questions? Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, Your Worship. While we're on the topic, I'm just wondering, do we have a designated storefront or store commercial operation that can print shirts or print hats or something like that if someone wanted to have Town of Essex materials?
Mr. Phillips.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, the notion of creating printed materials using the town's logo, it's a trademarked logo, and there's some concern. We've had recent conversation on this matter administratively, and we're looking for something less than the trademark, I guess, than the brand that we've purchased for ourselves. The confusion or the concern would be that if you have people walking around town with a t-shirt on that looks like they might be an employee, they might be seen as an employee. So we're looking for something different that would still represent Essex. And at this point in time, we only have a handful of shirts, as I know it, at the community services shop at the Aquatic Center. There's a handful of shirts that have the cresting on it, but it's only for town employees or town use. And that is something that the administration is looking at. But at this point in time, we don't have I understand what you're looking for. I think, too, it would be beneficial for us to have some swag, stuff that you give away, that you give away at tournaments and other opportunities to promote the community. But we're looking for a trademark or something less than the town's brand or a tagline at this point in time. I don't know if Doug or Donna want to jump in.
Yes, Richard.
Just as a follow-up, so I'd be interested at some future point once you do have been able to study it enough that you'd let council know. It's just, I personally would like to, I'm handing out door prizes all the time. I'm sure other council members are. I would like to be able to, even if it's it would be at my own expense, but I'd like to be able to go to a shop somewhere and be able to have Town of Essex hats or Town of Essex t-shirts that I could give away as a door prize for different events that I go to. Thanks.
Councillor Bjorkman.
Thank you, through your worship. Just wanted to make sure that we're going to be able to get this information to the different committees and things. I imagine it'll be on the information will be on the website, but can we put something together? Because I have been involved before and where we thought we were doing it good thing making a sign, and found out we weren't quite supposed to use the waves as we were using them. And it would just be helpful for our different committees that actually do some of the makeup signs. They've got letterhead, they've got different things, to get that information to them, as opposed to them trying to go and have to find it. So I just thought we should make that available to them if we can, or at least get a hold of them and tell them where they can go to find those items.
Lori?
Through you, Your Worship. We certainly can. I included in the package some one-page guides that we would specifically hand out when the occasion arose, but I think that's a very good idea. I can put something together to give to the committees so that they don't run afoul of the rules. Yes.
Thank you. Anything further? Motion to receive. Support. Councillor Bjorkman, Deputy Mayor Malash. All in favor?
There's already a motion. There's the hearing. Yes.
There was? Okay. Already was. Okay. All in favor? Motion carries.
Item B, Infrastructure and Development Report Number Drainage 2015-03, the appointment of an engineer to prepare a new maintenance schedule for the James Shepley Drain.
Councillor Caxero.
I'll move the recommendation.
Supported by Deputy Mayor Malash. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item C, Infrastructure and Development Report Number Drainage 2015-04, appointment of an engineer to prepare a new maintenance schedule for the Malden Road Drain.
Deputy Mayor Malash.
I'll move the recommendation.
Supported by Councillor Caxero. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item D, Infrastructure and Development Report Number Drainage 2015-05, appointment of an engineer to prepare a new maintenance schedule for the Sucker Creek Drain.
Moved by Councillor Bjorkman, supported by Councillor Caxero. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item E, Fire Department Report Number 2015-001, and this is the open air burn pamphlet and after the fire guide.
Councillor Caxero.
I'll move the recommendation. I have a question.
Okay. Supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Councillor Caxero.
Through your worship, to Chief Arnell. With respect to the open air burn pamphlet, it states that if there's someone in a contravention of the bylaw, that would be handed to them. And in other instances, the other instances, are we going to be handing them out at like the fairs and whatnot, kind of to the general public? I see this as a very good pamphlet for, I guess, education purposes, for people that maybe aren't too sure of what the rules are.
Through you, Your Worship. Yes, we're looking at using it as an information guide for people out there, so the residents, so they know what the rules are. And this is just a softer method of being able to, instead of handing out a bylaw, it just gives them an overall guideline on safe way of burning and what they need to do.
Councillor Caxero.
Through you, but as far as the avenue itself, are we going to look at things such as, and I'll use the Harrow Fair as the example, would we hand something like that out at the Harrow Fair, or are we not going to be, I guess, avidly trying to hand these out in public forums?
Through you, Your Worship. Yes, we can hand them out at the fairs. Yeah, we will be handing them out as information pamphlets for the general public, so they know what the guidelines are.
Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you to Chief Arnell, through you, Your Worship. Chief Arnell, I'm just wondering, I know you come from just recently to Essex, and I'm wondering if where you came from in Chatham-Kent, that they had a similar sort of policy for open air burns, and whether this is incorporates a lot of what you had seen in Chatham-Kent, or is this one more strict or a little less strict, or what's, are we capturing everything in here, and where are we at compared to other municipalities with this particular policy?
Through you, your worship. Yes, this bylaw is very similar to what Chatham-Kent. When I came here, Fire Chief Pilon had this pretty well put together. I just reviewed what it had compared with Chatham-Kent and Lake Shore and Tecumseh. It pretty well fits in with everybody. The new legislation, it shows distances, so that's what this talks about, is distances. You got to have the correct distances to be able to do it, and it's all about being nice to your neighbor, right? If it's impinging on somebody's rights, then you got to put the fire out. So yeah, it pretty well fits in with everybody else.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to voice that I had concerns from some residents in the past about this kind of a bylaw where particularly farmer situations where they want to have a burn on the weekend, but they don't know until the weekend, and all of a sudden now it comes Sunday morning or something and they want to burn something and they can't because and it's going to rain Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday type thing. There's no place to call to get a permit through the weekend. Is that something that we could potentially look at to try and resolve?
Through you, your worship. At the present time, permits are filled out Monday through Friday in the office, and our assistant Glenda, she takes care of ensuring those are all implemented. We're looking at trying to enhance that system as well by being able to computerize it, because it's a very onerous process. Right now, we have no provisions to do anything on the weekends, but we haven't had, and I'm speaking from what I've heard, there hasn't been a lot of issues with people looking for things they usually get them in on Friday to cover the weekend. So we normally don't have too many issues with that, but they're one-offs and we can take care of the one-offs if we need to.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Bjorkman.
Yes, through your worship. I was looking at the after the fire pamphlet, and it's excellent. There's a lot of things in there. I used to live out on Highland Side Road, and we got burn permits on the weekends when we would have our get-togethers. But the information that's actually in the after the fire is great information for before the fire, because you've got so much in there about what it is that you lose and things that happen that you can't replace, that you need to have in a safe place or copies of. So I'd love to see that as well available, like the Sparky's Toy Drive times or the open house, the fire stations, to have those for people. That's as important ahead of time as it is after. It's very comprehensive. It's a great document. We should find a way to share that as much as possible.
Thank you. Anything further? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries.
Item F, Corporate Services Report Number 2015-005 regarding council mileage.
Councilor Caxero.
I'll move the two recommendations, and I've got a quick question.
Supported by Councilor Bjorkman. Councilor Caxero.
Through your worship, and I don't know if it'll be to our CAO or to Donna Hunter. With respect to meetings required under the Drainage Act, and the example was Quarter Revision, what about on-site drainage meetings?
Through your worship, this basically is any drainage meeting. I've just given an example, but if it's a formal meeting, then it would be covered.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything further? Councilor Snively.
Through your worship, I just have one question on the mileage. I brought this issue up before. Let's say, for example, I had a meeting with people on Snake Lane the other day. I had a call there last week about the road conditions, and I went out there to meet with them. So it's approximately 17 kilometers. So this would not be allowed as mileage?
Through your worship, no, it would not. It's meeting with ratepayers. But if it was a meeting of the council body as a whole with ratepayers at that site, then that would be a different thing.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Russ?
Thank you, through you, your worship. As Donna has indicated in her report, that was remaining consistent with all the other municipalities surveyed, was that no municipalities provide mileage for meeting directly with ratepayers.
Anything further to the report? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item G, Chief Administrative Officer, Report Number 2015-02, regarding Council's discretionary funds policy.
Councilor Caxera,
I'll move the recommendation.
supported by Councilor Bjorkman. Any questions? Councilor Caxera.
Just a comment through your worship, I'd suggest to the deputy mayor that he could use some of these funds to buy those hats and shirts for the events that he wishes to give outdoor prizes.
All in favor of the motion? Motion carries.
Item H, Corporate Services, Report Number Clerk 2015-004, is 2014 Municipal Election Notice of Default.